All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today's two topics for our training is going to be about booking a job, the Swiss for that, and bit names. So the booking a job Swiss, the PDCA team consisted of JJ, who was leading us there, with Bill, Frank, Jake, Nicole, myself, Robert, and Vince. So we just wrapped this one up last 2 months ago, early January. And we're going to walk through the booking a job Swiss. So what's booking a job? So that's when we actually get a job, we're awarded the project, either we got a contract or some kind of letter of intent from the GC, and we're now going to book it so that it shows up in our booking report. This Swiss here is located under pre-construction in our standard procedures. If you just search booking a job, it'll be right there. Step number one, the estimator receives an email, LOI, or contract from the client signifying the client's intent to proceed with the project and acceptance of our bid proposal. So it must be in writing that Walters & Wolff is authorized to begin the work. Why? It's our proof of release. Step two, if an estimate is not complete, estimator prepares a simple green sheet to provide budget costs for the job. Key points there, review and follow the Word document for cost codes to include in the simple green sheet. Why? Eliminate overprocessing and waste from over budget notices prior to export of green sheets. So open me up. So when we're doing a simple green sheet, we want to make sure that we have dollars into the following cost codes. 569, project management, include enough money to get the PM to a full project release. 570, drafting and shop drawings. Again, include enough money to get drafting to a full project release. 488, engineering, include enough money to get through calculations based upon project release. 493, dies. If dies are included as part of the early release, cover costs for dies. 505, stock length metal, include $1 in stock length metal. This will allow the PM and purchasing team to book the metal with our vendor if only a D&E release, receive authorization from customer to book metal, and sign the metal booking authorization form in templates. So I think we're going to be PDCAing this worksheet here because that, I don't think it's longer applicable. I think to book metal, we need the full contract, right?
No, so we can book metal without a full contract. What we need a full contract for is to firmly lock their position in our production schedule. So we do have a couple projects right now where metal is booked, but because we do not have that full release, if someone else came and took that spot, we would give them that spot and they would move to a new spot and we would have to rebook metal for them.
Okay. Thank you for that there. And cost code 492, mockup. If a mockup is included in the early release, cover all material costs for the mockup. Estimator exports simple green or completed green sheets to the portal. Follow exporting green sheets in active bit setup, SOP, open PDF, link at the right. So we're going to open up this PDF document here. And this right here is our SOP for exporting our individual estimates to the portal. So step number one, each estimate will need to be exported independently from your estimate folder. So you're going to open up every single estimate and do the export individually for each one of these. Open the estimate and click the export button on the job info tab. So that's this button there. Step three, In the pop-up window, begin by typing the job name exactly as titled in the portal. The job name should display as you enter it. This information automatically pulls from the portal. So as you're typing the name of the project, it's going to recognize that we have that job in the portal. You can pre-select it. It'll bring along any pre-filled information. So if you've done any bits before, it'll be in these drop-down menus. Step number 4, in the pop-up window, enter the title of your estimate in the bit name field. Example, bit 1 or budget 1, which is kind of the next topic later after this. We're going to talk a little bit more about bit names. But that's where the bit name will go along with the system name there. Click OK to add new bid. So if it's a new bid or a new estimate that's not previously there, it'll ask you if you want to upload that. You're going to hit OK. And it'll be the same thing for the system name and the bit name there. Step number 7, this estimate is now exported to the portal. All fields previously blank on the job info tab will now be populated. Information autofills from the portal. So that's this stuff right here. And you would repeat that process for every individual estimate that you will be uploading as part of that bid. Step number 8, locate your job in the sales portal and click the pencil icon. So in your sales dashboard, where you have the list of your active jobs, you hit this little pencil. You're going to go into your sales page for that project. Right in the middle of that page, you're going to see the bids button there. You're going to click that, and then you're going to get a new window which walks you through that here in step number 10. In this example, there are 2 bids, budget 1 and bid 1. The currently active bid is shown with a green box and check mark. The newly added bid will be blank. To activate the most recently added bid, click the dollar symbol. This dollar symbol right there. Number 11, once you click that, this window will open here. And if you want to make that your active bid, you're going to check this here, and that'll make this bid the active bid. Step number 12, click the back button in your browser to return to the sales data page and hit update there. So that's the actual process to upload estimates to the portal and make that bid the active bid. And if you haven't booked the job or uploaded any estimates, a lot of this can sound very finicky as far as what's going on. So whenever if it's your first time, just feel free to reach out to any of us and we'll walk you through that. Because it's not something that we do very often. And if it's your first time, it's going to take a couple rounds to kind of get the flow of all that's happening there. The next thing you want to do is print the account summary for the green sheets and send to me in a PDF. You open up this here. So the active bid will have a button there that you will print the account summary for all these systems. So this is one bid that had 6 estimates in it. Hitting this print account summary button will generate like a master green sheet summarizing all these individual estimates, which we would give to accounting, and then they'll do their magic and the numbers will show up in the PM dashboard. As far as all the accounting, all the cost codes, that's kind of what that process is doing there. Next, step number 5, access the sales tab in the portal and locate the specific project in the list. Click the pencil icon to update the sales project information and status. So this is, once you're in the sales page for that project, you're walking through and actually booking the job. Step number 6, review all data in the project information section for accuracy. Update job name to match the name on the subcontract. Key point there, you must edit the action field to reflect sold, the project manager field to reflect the name of the assigned PM. 7, review all data in the schedule info section for accuracy. These are our shop and field start and finish dates. In the dates section, utilize the calendar feature to list the booking date. This should be the date the LOI contract was received. Number 9, upon entering the booking date, a folder icon will display. Click the folder icon, and here's where you will select the name of the project that's in your sales bids folder. That gets copied over to the jobs server into the pre-contract folder. Step number 10, once you have confirmed all files are closed, locate the specific job folder on the sales drive and double-click the job. Step 11, confirm the style of work description is an accurate representation of the project. Key point there, make sure you check the box if you know if the job is OSIP, CSIP, market recovery, OSHPOT, or certified payroll. Why? This will notify the accounting team so they know what to expect. Step 12, if in the contract administration, select the job number from the drop-down list. The next available job number in the departmental sequence auto-populates as your only option. Key point there, if no job number is shown, contact V to have a job number added. 13, after all items are deemed accurate, click Update to copy all bid files to the operations drive. This step duplicates all project files for accessibility by operations. The portal will auto-generate an email to the estimator, PM, contract administrator, and accounting to confirm job setup. And the last step here, follow the kickoff meeting Swiss to complete the turnover to operations. So once you've booked the job, the next action step there is to have our kickoff meeting, and there's a separate Swiss for that. So key point there, go to the portal on standard procedures to access the Swiss there. So again, if you've never walked through the process of booking a job and exporting individual estimates, a lot of this probably sounded like a different language. But on your first run, just reach out to any of us and we'll walk you through it. Any questions with booking a job or exporting estimates? Cool. All right, so for the next topic, it's going to be talking about bids. All right, so naming bids. What are we talking about when we're naming bids? We're talking about this space right here of our job info page of our estimates. If you click this cell right now today, there's a drop down that recommends that we go by bid 1, bid 2, bid 3, budget 1, etc. But it doesn't need to be one of these. You can name it something that represents something more the type of bid that we're working on at the moment. So kind of showing you guys something that a true scenario of kind of what I was doing on IQHQ. Because for me, I always, when I exported my estimates to the portal, I always use bid 1 as that's the very first one that I worked on, right? My first upload is bid 1. Anything that I did in the bidding phase was probably a different title in there, maybe like my budget or second round budget or something like that. But whatever bid name you have in here, when you go to export, that bid is going to be filed under that name in your estimates. So a little bit of history here is that a while back, operations was only able to view the most active bid. They weren't able to see any bids previously uploaded. So today, all bids are available for viewing. So for example, on this job, IQHQ, back in August, I uploaded bid 1 for 100,000. Now, if we click bid 1, it's going to open up this window and it's going to show all the estimates that were part of that, representing the 100,000. So at the time, it was just our D&E release, right? It really could have been named our Part A release. And a little bit after that, I uploaded, like a month later, I uploaded this bid, basis of base bid. And it included all of these different estimates, right? The 8.3 here is the 8.3 here. All of these represent my basis of base bid. So why was this done? IQHQ was a Part A, Part B type of release. So we were released for design and engineering. We had our kickoff around a D&E release, but we wanted to share with operations kind of what we knew when we got the job awarded to us. So at the time, this was the scope that we had estimates for. Some of them we didn't have complete estimates. Maybe we used some of these like glass doors as a just to quantify doors, have an itemized takeoff of the doors. But maybe there's could be some handy information in here for the PMs, like door numbers, sizes, etc. And this number doesn't represent the true value that we were expecting either. It was just, it's there for reference. So I titled it Basis of Base Bid, but a good title could have been just for reference or maybe even Basis of Base Bid. As long as you communicate that with the PM, I think that's kind of the key point there. And then finally, I had another upload called Final Contract. Final Contract included the Part A and Part B of our release. So now you can see this is what ultimately is in the job today. This is the active estimate, meaning that this is what I gave accounting the account summary on, and this is what reflects the PM dashboard today. Just a quick view, like you can see the difference, right? There's Arcadia, some YKK, our W10, which a lot of that just turned into 2 estimates now, our unitized and our tech wall. We had different doors. Now it's just folding doors, storefront doors, no VMU, PMU, bond before, but now we do. So this gives operations a better understanding of the different estimates available for them. Any questions with bit names or any other feedback?
So that basis of base bid, you never would have sent a summary of that to V though, because that was never actually pushed to accounting, right?
That is correct, yeah.
So it's just when we actually are, it's I'm gonna say real, you know, either it's the D&E or it's the full Part B that we're sending that to V.
Correct. Yeah, numbers that should be displayed on the portal. So yeah, for these, I didn't want these numbers to be visible because at the time it was just a Part A. Yep.
If you needed to make a revision now, like, so you have your final contract, right? But let's say that after you did with your second day with the estimator, you realized there was a mistake and you wanted to correct it. What would you need to do to just, you know, fix that mistake?
There's 2 ways I can think of tackling that. The first one being you overwrite the estimates. So you would have to take it down. Like let's say you had 3 estimates, unitized, tech wall, and doors, but you wanted to make a revision to your tech wall estimate. I would pull that estimate down, upload the revised tech wall estimate, it's still going to be going into the final contract bid, but you would overwrite that and then give accounting the new updated green sheet. The other method would be to make a new estimate. Maybe it's called final contract revised. You have your 3 estimates there again, but with the update to the TechWall version of it. And then you give accounting your new green sheet and say, hey, and then you would have to make the new one the active bid. So yeah, there's 2 ways that I can think of. I don't know, anybody else can think of a different way?
I think the first way might be, unless there's value to seeing all the old ones, because that's like a lot of work. If you had 10 estimates to like repush all 10, if you're only revising one of them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's probably not a bad idea to talk about, I know our bid process checklist walks us through all the way to like submitting our proposal, but I think that there's a lot of key steps that happen along the way when we're working up, pushing the green sheets to the portal. Because I've worked with Gabriel, I think I've walked through the process with a few people, because it could be confusing. And maybe there's some good methods that we can come up with to kind of standardize that process, or at least have some guidance. Because what I've done is, when I'm working on a bid, I would work off of our budgets folder. Like before we had budgets and estimates, budgets was everything that we were working during the bidding phase. But if we were awarded a job, I would work under the estimate folder. Estimate to me meant that's what I was going to ultimately be pushing to the portal. And inside there, I would have my bid 1 folder, bid 2 folder. So if I needed to revise, like say I'm working on bid 2 and I need to make a revision and update that, I would just copy the entire folder. And now it's going to be bid 3. I would upload all those individually with the revision to whichever estimate needs to be updated. So I think both probably take the same amount of steps. It's just preference there.
The one thing about, I don't know if everyone knows this, but to be aware of, when we send a revised green sheet to accounting. So, I mean, let's just go with the example that you had, Pedro, like you were saying, you had these estimates in it, you needed to make a revision to just the TechWall estimate, and you're resending that green sheet. As long as all of the cost codes that were used on the first green sheet are being used on the revised one, it works fine, right? So if all you're doing is the cost codes are the same, but you're changing the amount of money in those cost codes, or maybe you're changing the hours, or you're adding new cost codes, the system works fine. Where it runs into problem is if one goes away. So, I mean, let's just have a hypothetical example. You pushed all the green sheets and you had money in operable windows. And you realized after the fact that that was a mistake. There was no operable windows. That was an alternate. You shouldn't have had it in there. So you pull the operable windows out and you resend it. When they reload that new green sheet, it's not going to delete operable windows. It has to be done manually. So I just bring it up because it's come up a couple times. It doesn't happen often, but if you do send a new green sheet, just be cognizant and keep an eye on if there's any cost codes went away. You just need to let her know so she can manually go and delete those. Does that make sense?
That's good to know, yeah. Yep. Key point there. Yep, that's a good one because I didn't know that was an issue for them.
Yeah, I didn't either, and it's popped up. It's rare, right? Because you don't usually have one go away, but it has happened. And we're looking at we are in the process of getting new accounting software that will fix that, but just wanted to bring that one up.
Cool. All right. So bidding names, what's a good bidding name? So a good one is just kind of like a easy one is when are we invited to, when in the design phase are we invited to bid? So typically in construction, there's these different phases, programming, or sometimes known as pre-design, schematic design, design development, construction documents, the bidding, and construction. So these clouded areas is kind of where we are most actively involved in. During schematic design, you'll probably hear SDs or some kind of percentage, right? 50% SDs, meaning that it's very early on. Maybe all we have is floor plans, elevations, some rendering shots. Design development, they've done a little bit more work. Maybe there's some wall sections, details, and specifications. Construction documents, CDs. And by this point, the drawings are a lot more developed and they can take those into permitting. And bidding, I don't think we're lucky enough to kind of fall in this category. Oftentimes we're very early on, more around here. So where do you find that kind of information? The cover sheet of the documents that we're working with. Here are just some recent examples. Summit, here's kind of where they were giving us the drawing set title. Schematic design, dated there. Edwards, here in their revisions line items here, it's where they had their title, plan check submittal. And on OC Vibe, it was over here, 100% DDs. So some recommended bid names. So we're during the pricing stage, we can use the drawing set title as a bid name. So we're working with schematic design. It could be our schematic design bid, or SD and the date. Now, if it's something that we're booking a job and exporting to the portal, maybe the bid name could be a release type. So is it a D&E? Is it a part A? Design assist, design, that kind of thing. Or if it's our full contract, or if it's got some purpose, right? Kind of like what I was doing in between on IQHQ. It was for reference. It was the basis of our base bid. So today, we would be focusing on this when we're uploading that to the portal. But something to keep in mind, and we'll have some more follow-up here as we finish our estimating portal. But in our estimating portal, we will need to key this information in ahead of time, since we are going to be creating estimates during the bidding phase early on. So something that we'll keep in mind as we're working through the estimating portal there. Any other thoughts, ideas on the bidding names, recommendations, or something you guys are using or liking or prefer?
I was just telling Robert that I was never taught that you could change those names. So I've always used like bid 1, bid 2. So this is great. I will start labeling them like this.
I'm the second one. I mean, I've always, when I uploaded to the portal, it was always bid 1 was the first one. If I had a second one, it was bid 2, and so on. So you're not alone.
Yeah, I'm excited to push them this way. Should make everything a lot cleaner.
So follow-up and action items, I think we can review with the Booking a Job PDCA team about revising kind of the bid drop-down menu in our Excel templates, because maybe that's what's causing the issue, right? It should be bid 1. That's what I thought. Estimating portal. So we'll keep in mind kind of the bid name description there, and we'll have further training using the estimating portal towards the end of the year. That's it, unless you guys have some questions or something back to circle back on.
One other follow-up item, and we hadn't talked about this, Pedro, but I mean, just to kind of let everyone know, We're gonna make a revision, and we may just do it with this Kaizen group, to go through it, but that list of cost codes that you wanna make sure you've got money in, when you're doing a simple green, we're gonna expand it. And the reason is, we're a little over a year now that we've been using Kronos. That list came out pre-Kronos. We run into a lot of challenges with Kronos if money isn't in a cost code. It makes it that people can't charge time to it. So, for example, that list doesn't have anything in there for the takeoff group. But the takeoff group does a lot of initial setup on things before they actually do takeoffs. And we run into problems when there's no money in there that they can't do their time cards. And we end up having to do like internal pinks and moving money and things like that. It's not that we need the full budget, we need something in there. The shop and field are the same way. If we don't put any money to the shop and field at all, they can't do anything. And we've run into problems like we did this recently on IQHQ. Green sheets weren't in yet. Shop needed to start on the visual mockup. They couldn't because they had no way to charge their time. So we had to do a bunch of fixes. So we're going to be expanding that list to basically be putting either $1 or an hour into more of those codes that do pop up just to get them unlocked. Either because, we don't have full green sheets that we're ready to push yet, or it's just for D&E, but sometimes this stuff still ends up popping into the D&E and we just want to get them unlocked. So there'll be more to come on that, but I just wanted to mention because it is related to this.
I agree. Yep. And I think that's the D&E Kaizen, probably.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? I think we're good. We can stop.
Thanks, Pedro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Pedro.
Pedro. Thank you.
See ya.